Hey buddies, it's Puggy here coming at you with another Borderlands 3 video. Today I'm going to show you the location of the black market machine, and then after I show you the location of the items, I am of course going to go over to Sanctuary to showcase the weapons. But before we get into it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. You have no idea how much helps me out, and let's get into it.
Legendary? Whoa! No way, dude!
So first things first, the location of the black market machine is going to be on Promethea all the way to Lecture City. So there's only one spawn location you can actually go to in Lecture City, which is unfortunately all the way over here. And I say unfortunately because of the fact that the location that we need to get to is right here. So it is going to take you about 30 seconds probably to actually get to the area. So I'm going to spawn in real quick just so I can show you the route. It's actually right at Moxie's bar, but I'm just going to start heading out right here to show you exactly where to go. So there's multiple ways that you can go. I personally like to take the left way, and once you get to the end of this little hallway, you want to then keep heading down the street this way and go down the bridge all the way to the edge of the map right over there. Once you're at this little arch area, you just want to keep moving forward, and following the road is exactly where you need to go. There isn't really much complicated directions you need to go. Just keep following the road until you eventually hit a certain point. And once you find this little cylinder thing, which was right actually at the road, you can actually start heading down it, and you'll be at Moxie's bar right here, and we can actually already see the black market machine right here. So I'm going to show the location on the map one more time just in case. So I'm going to zoom out all the way. It's right here. It's kind of close to the kilovolt area, which I haven't done on this character, which is funny. But the items of the day are going to be the Monocle, which is a pretty decent sniper. It's one of the best snipers that are used like a sniper, but we'll discuss that a little bit further. Then we have the Oldridian, which is a very interesting weapon that switches to random elements while you reload. The weapon damage it does is pretty meh. And then the Lob, which was honestly a really good weapon until it was kind of nerfed. And by kind of nerfed, I mean like actually nerfed. It was reduced from projectiles from 3 to 1, so it doesn't deal as much damage, but it's decent at mobbing. And let's head over to Sanctuary to test out the weapons. So first weapon we're going to showcase is the Monocle. Now the Monocle is a pretty interesting sniper. Generally what you want on snipers is the above 90 anointment, which I don't have on this Monocle, but I do have on this Monocle. So you want this anointment because you want to be one-shotting people with this gun, and that anointment helps you one-shot. The max damage that you can get is going to be 73k with it, and it does have a pretty low magazine size, but it has very interesting effect when you aim down the scope. This weapon doesn't come in any elements. It's a Jacobs, so it's going to be bare bones. Because it's a Jacobs, when you hit a crit, which is what you want to do with this weapon, the bullets are going to ricochet to a nearby enemy, and this weapon cannot spawn and splash. It doesn't deal any splash damage, so don't worry about that. It was technically buffed twice with the sniper buff as of recently of 2 months ago, and then back in late 2020 there was a big buff of 130%, so it's a lot better than it used to be. Pretty much what it does is when you are shooting it, it shoots pretty decently fast, but the main thing you want to do on the sniper, and why I say it's like a sniper more than any other sniper, is that it gets 250% more critical damage when you aim down the scope. So I'm going to hit him with a critical with this. We did 1.6 million, and then when I aim down the sights, we did up to that was 7 million, so a lot more damage. And this crit damage is multiplicable, so it does help a lot because multiplicable multipliers are really huge. There's not really much else to talk about the sniper. You can one-shot Grave Ward pretty easily with Moze and Zane, which I've tested. I'm sure you could do it on other Vault Hunters as well, but I will showcase me one-shotting Grave Ward with this weapon in a few moments. But let's go on to the next weapon, which is going to be the Oldridian. Now the Oldridian is going to be max damage 13.7k if you're using everything but cryo. If you're doing cryo, it's going to be 14.5k. This weapon is very interesting due to the fact that it's going to change elements on every reload. So because of the fact that it's going to change your element, you probably want to get a cryo one so you have max damage at all times, because it's going to deal damage based on its card damage. So you want to get a cryo max damage one if you want a god roll version of this weapon that deals much damage as possible. But you probably won't want to farm this because the damage it does isn't really good. Now the elements it can spawn with is going to be kinetic, fire, shock, corrosive, cryo, and radiation. As I said before, you want to deal as much damage with it as possible. You want to get a cryo because the card damage is going to be the highest value possible. The element that it spawns with doesn't really matter because it's going to rotate through incendiary, radiation, shock, corrosive, and cryo as you reload the weapon. The only other interesting thing about this weapon is because it's a Hyperion, it has that shield. The shield does reduce the incoming elemental damage that you take, specifically elemental damage that you take, by 20%. and then it can reflect melee and projectiles back at the attacker. So right here, I just got it out. Mine is spawned with fire, but as I'm shooting it, you'll see that it's dealing corrosive damage. Now you'll see that it's dealing fire damage because of I'm playing Moze, but it's mainly dealing corrosive damage as its main bullet damage, which is very, very interesting. Right here, we just reloaded it. Now it's dealing cryo damage. So, you know, it's every single time you reload, it's going to switch to another element. It's going to go down the order: incendiary, radiation, shock, corrosive, cryo. So we had corrosive at the start. We had cryo before I reloaded again and went to incendiary. So if you want to plan out your attack by doing that, you could. The damage that it deals isn't really too great, and the magazine it has isn't too high either. It generally isn't really considered that great of a weapon. I try my best to deal as much damage as possible with this weapon. It just doesn't really deal that much damage. It took me a while to even kill Grave Ward with my build that I normally speed kill Grave Ward with all the time. It took about 20 seconds, which is a very poor speed run of Grave Ward. So now let's move on to the Lob. Now the Lob is a very awesome weapon. It's a Torgue shotgun. If it's any element besides radiation and cryo, its max damage is going to be 102k, while cryo is going to be 108k. It can spawn in every single element except for kinetic, and this is a splash damage weapon, so you want to specialize that with using splash damage multipliers, and because of that, I'm using a splash damage anointment as well, so we can increase our damage as much as possible. Now the only bad thing about this weapon is the fact that it shoots really slow. It's definitely not really for bossing, it's more for mobbing, and it looks really cool. I'm using Infernal Wish, so all my orbs that spawn are 2 instead of 1, but the damage that it deals isn't really too great. As you see here, it's getting stuck on the doppelganger. Normally it doesn't really get stuck on the enemies. It travels really slowly, so if you're trying to deal damage to a target that's really far away, it's going to take forever to really get to the target. It's a really fun weapon to get up close and personal with, and you can down yourself with it like that, so it doesn't even travel that far. If you're not close enough, it's not going to reach the enemy. If you use it like it's intended by using it as like a shotgun, which is like, you know, up close and personal, it does deal a lot of damage. Now the only bad thing about it is that you could get downed with it like I am right here, but it deals decent damage. We're dealing around 1 million per shot without using any active skill end, anything like that, so it does decent damage really. It's not really for bossing though, because bosses usually go all over the place, or you want to shoot from afar with bosses. You don't really want to get up close and personal with a lot of bosses, or even some bosses don't allow it, like Grave Ward, so it's kind of a really hard weapon to favor. It's definitely more for mobbing, so don't really use it for bossing at all. If I had to recommend which items to get, I'd probably recommend to get the Monocle, just because it's a really powerful sniper. If you like snipers, the only bad thing is that its damage is only going to be good if you hit crits while in the scope. Otherwise, it's not really good. And the Lob is a really fun weapon to use, but it has its faults. It doesn't deal as much damage as it used to, and it's mainly for mobbing. So definitely get the Lob if you want to do a lot of damage for mobbing, and the Monocle if you want to be really good at sniping. But otherwise, the Monocle is not really going to do any damage, and the Oldridian is just not really a good gun at all. Now let's head over to Grave Ward so we can one-shot him with the sniper, just so you can see how powerful it is, because it's really powerful actually. Alrighty, so I'm going to do the same setup as I normally do. I'm going to enter exit Iron Bear. We're going to debuff him a little, and then we're going to activate Elemental Projector real quick just to get some damage boost, and we're going to scope into there. And unfortunately that didn't one-shot like it normally does, but 3 shots pretty nice. Normally we one-shot there. That was a bit weird. But definitely get the Monocle because it's a very fun traditional sniper. But as always, do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I hope y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.
And the last shall be first to immerse in a pass out heat, facing him up with a moxie melt till he woke up drowning in tchotchke hell. War in a cave with a torch on a wall, then a window arrangement of porcelain dolls.